Stirewalt now, our Fox News digital politics editor, and Howard Kurtz, who's a Fox News media analyst. Good to see you both.
Howdy.
Chris, your thoughts so far?
Well, look, Donald Trump did exactly what he needed to do. He met his polling number. He underperformed in Iowa by a pretty significant 5-6 points. He met what the public polls said. His voters marched for him. And as long as the rest of these other Republicans are rolling around here, I mean, we got people rolling around in the dirt fighting over 12%, 8%, 9%. It's the most pitiful rack of lamb I have ever seen served up. And if they don't find a way to do what they mean to do and unite, Donald Trump can walk away with this thing.
Howie, there was a lot of media coverage in the past, well, days and weeks about controversial items involving Donald Trump. Just yesterday, he used the P word. He was repeating.
I didn't know we had that.
He was repeating. For those of you not following, it's another word for cat. And not long ago, he said that we should ban all Muslims coming into the United States who are not American. Here today in New Hampshire, when asked about that proposed ban on Muslims, 64% of the voters said they support it. They support the ban, and something like 60% of the voters say they like Trump because he tells it like it is.
Which shows you how far Donald Trump has moved this entire debate. And let's take a step back. This is a billionaire who was mocked and minimized for months, who was dismissed as a sideshow, whose imminent demise was predicted again and again and again. And now he has won this resounding victory in the first primary. Yes, he has more independents in this state that won't be available to him in the closed GOP primary states, but it turns out that he was more astute in channeling the public anger and frustration than most members of the political and the media establishment. And on the bad language, I would say a clear plurality of voters in the GOP primary here in New Hampshire have just given the middle finger to the GOP establishment.
What do you make of that, Chris? Because that's the narrative emerging in some corners tonight, that this is a big, setback for the so-called establishment.
Okay, so you go around and you talk to voters in New Hampshire. I'm sure you did too. And you go around, you talk to the folks, and you do like your mini lunch, right? You get a group of people and you say, okay, let's talk about this. What do you like? And they respond to Trump because they want to send a message to the Republican Party. They want to send a message to Washington. And same with Sanders, which is they're not thinking about practicality. They're not thinking about electability. They're not thinking about November. They have a clear message, which is, you stink. Please notice what we think about you. But then when you start talking about electability, the thinking changes and all of those things. How the Republicans get from the point where they're focused on how angry they are at their own party to the point about whether or not they can get together to beat Hillary Clinton, who will still be the likely nominee for the Democrats after this, that'll depend on how much time Donald Trump has before the party gangs up on him.
Speaking of Hillary Clinton, Madeleine Albright, former Secretary of State, came out and said there's a special place in hell for women who don't support other women in the context of Hillary's election. Well, apparently, a bunch of women aged 18 to 29 here in New Hampshire are going to hell because 80% of them supported Bernie Sanders over Hillary. So I have bad news for you, young women. Apparently, Madeleine Albright thinks it's not going to work out for you.
They're going to have a long, hot future.
But first, it's not going to work out for Hillary in New Hampshire because she did not win young people. She did not win the women here, the young women in particular.
Absolutely. And while she avoided a humiliating 25 or 30-point blowout, this is not a comeback kid territory like her husband proclaimed in 1992. Look, don't buy the Hillary spin that Bernie's a neighbor from Vermont and therefore this is discounted. Bernie Sanders was 40 points down in this state. He started out as a fringe candidate. He wasn't well known outside of Washington. He's a 74-year-old socialist, and he has taken on the Clinton machine and won. And even though it's a much tougher path for him ahead in the more racially diverse and bigger states, this is a big victory and a major setback for Hillary.
Good to see you both.
Same here.